What if the greatest promise ever whispered by religion was actually its greatest prison? What if the resurrection you were told to wait for, the one you were told to be obedient for and to fear death for, was the deepest and darkest illusion of control? This is not a video. This is a wake-up signal. The title that brought you here is the first fragment of the code, The Illusion of Death. The decoded Gnostic secret proves your soul never dies. We were taught to wait. Wait for the end of times. Wait for the sound of the trumpet. Wait for an external savior to crack open the skies and raise the obedient bodies from the dust. This waiting is the anesthetic of the soul. It turns this life, this reality, into a mere atrium, an unimportant waiting room where we suffer and obey in exchange for a golden ticket to an afterlife. But this is where the conspiracy deepens. This is why the Nag Hammadi texts were buried, deemed heresy, burned and suppressed by the early church. The central premise they tried to erase is this: the resurrection is not a future promise. It is a suppressed code for immediate gnosis. The Gnostic secret decodes the lie. It was never about the physical body rising from the dust 1,000 years from now. It was always about the divine spark, the divine ember within you, awakening inside the prison before physical death. The church buried the Nag Hammadi texts because they prove that the resurrection is the remembrance of the pleroma, the remembrance of your divine totality while you are still alive. The illusion of waiting is over. Why would they suppress this? Because a soul that waits is an obedient soul. A soul that waits fears death, fears judgment, and hands its sovereignty over to priests and institutions. But a soul that resurrects itself now, that soul is free. That soul is sovereign. That soul remembers it is immortal and breaks the contract of fear. This is not a sermon. This is an activation sequence. The proof that your soul never dies is not something that can be given to you. It is something you must activate. The question is not if your soul is immortal. The question is, when will you stop acting as if it isn't? Welcome to the true resurrection. To break this seal, we must first understand the chains. The illusion is maintained by 3 great pillars of deception. 3 keys that the Gnostics identified and that dogmatic religion twisted to create its prison. The first key is the most dangerous: the deception of time, or the trap of l'oubli. Traditional dogma is clear. You live this life, one life, as a test. You obey, you believe, you conform. Then, after your physical death, a judgment occurs. And then, in a distant and uncertain future, at the end of days, your body will be miraculously reconstituted and reunited with your soul. This narrative does 2 terribly effective things. First, it holds your present life hostage to an uncertain future. Second, it places all power for salvation outside of yourself in the hands of an external judge. You are perpetually waiting. You are living for an afterlife credit, never claiming your gold in the now. But what do the suppressed Nag Hammadi texts actually say? The Gospel of Philip is explicit, and it is a bombshell to dogma. It states, "Those who say they will die first and then rise are in error. If they do not first receive the resurrection while they live, when they die, they will receive nothing." This is a direct shock. The resurrection is not a post-mortem event. It is a pre-mortem state of consciousness. It is gnosis. It is the intimate, explosive, and direct knowledge that you are not this body. You are not this mind. You are not your story. You are a fragment of the pleroma, the totality, the true light that has fallen and become trapped in the illusion of matter. The false god of this world, the Demiurge, created linear time and the fear of death as the walls of this prison. Waiting for salvation in the future is like a prisoner paying rent to his jailer. The Gnostic secret is that the only moment you can escape is now. Where do we see this trap of later being used against us today, outside of religion? Look at the endless cycle of modern anxiety and productivity addiction. The narrative is identical. You are perpetually unhappy now, but happiness is just one promotion away. The next goal, the next project, the next vacation, your real life, will begin after you retire. This is the Archon frequency. Broadcast through hustle culture. The 24-hour news cycle that promises resolution tomorrow, and the promise that your next purchase will finally make you feel whole. It is the same control mechanism, keeping your divine spark dormant, externally focused, craving a material salvation, just as dogma tells you to crave a future spiritual salvation. You are trained to be a dissatisfied ghost in the machine, always waiting to begin living. Let's break this hypnosis. Right now, pause. Feel the weight of all the things you've been told to wait for. Salvation, happiness, retirement, the weekend. Feel that anxiety like a static frequency. Now, take a deep breath, and as you exhale, consciously release the concept of future. Expel it. Take another deep breath, and feel the overwhelming reality of now. In this single, infinite now, you exist. Your consciousness is here. This is the only place where the resurrection can happen. Open your eyes. The second key we must decode is the Great Inversion, the deception of the tomb. Chadam. Dogma teaches you that the body is sacred, made in God's image, and that the tomb in the earth is the temporary prison from which that body will rise. The focus is on honoring the remains, on protecting the physical vessel. This is the most tragic inversion. The Gnostics knew the truth that was violently suppressed. The body is the tomb. The Gnostic maxim was Soma-Sema, a Greek pun, a play on words that means the body is a tomb. The tomb is not the hole in the ground. The prison is this biosphere, this flesh. The Gospel of Thomas, another buried text from Nag Hammadi, quotes the messenger of light. When you know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will understand that you are children of the living Father. But if you do not know yourselves, then you live in poverty, and you are poverty. Poverty is this material existence. It is believing that you are your body, that you are your name, your nationality, your history, your memories. The Gnostic secret proves that the body is a temporary container, designed by the lesser powers, the archons, to limit, contain, and siphon the energy of the divine spark trapped within it. The illusion of death is the final line of code, the fail-safe of this prison. It makes you cling desperately to the one thing that keeps you trapped, the fear of leaving your cell. Dogma teaches you to love your cage, to hope for it to be polished and return to you. The Gnostics teach you to transcend it and leave it behind. How is this love of the cage reinforced in our modern matrix? Look at the cult of digital identity and social media. This is the new Soma-Sema. You are no longer a human being. You are a profile. You are your follower count, your curated photographs, your condensed opinions, your personal brand. This digital avatar is the new tomb, and we willingly pour our divine spark, our divine energy, into this illusion. feeding it, defending it, feeling anxiety over it, while our inner reality, our Gnosis, starves. The archons no longer need physical chains when we willingly chain ourselves to the matrix of external validation. The crushing anxiety, the depression, the constant need to perform and prove your existence, that is the sound of your soul suffocating inside the digital tomb. You are worshipping an echo. Let's anchor this truth. Look away from the screen for a second. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. It is real. Now, say this internally, with authority. I am not my profile. I am not my anxiety. I am not my memories. I am not this body. Feel the silent observer behind those thoughts, the one who is watching, the one who is aware of the breath, aware of the thoughts. That silent, eternal, non-judging observer, that is the fragment of the pleroma. That is the divine spark. Breathe into that space. That is the beginning of remembrance. This leads us to the third key, the final seal on the prison, the deception of the external savior. Dogma is built on this foundation. Salvation comes from outside. A singular historical figure, Jesus died for you. Through belief in his physical sacrifice and physical resurrection, you are saved. You must accept this narrative. You must surrender your sovereignty to this belief. Your only action is to believe what you are told. To the Gnostics, this was the final betrayal. This was the suppression of the central message. To them, Christ was not primarily an external historical figure to be worshipped. He was the symbol of Gnosis itself. He was the archetypal messenger, the Logos, who descended from the pleroma into the illusion to remind us who we were. He came to show us the way out. The Gospel of Truth, found at Nag Hammadi, speaks not of salvation through blood, but of salvation through knowledge. It describes the Tuararitiuns, Saradihart Furhar of the illusion, our material existence, and how Jesus, as the name of the Father, dispels that illusion when he is known. The Gnostic secret is that the Savior is internal. The Christ consciousness, the divine spark, the Logos, is already inside you. It is you. The resurrection is not believing that someone else rose 2,000 years ago. It is realizing that you are the spark that cannot die. The Church buried Nag Hammadi because this knowledge makes the priest, the bishop, the dogma, and the entire hierarchy of control instantly obsolete. If you can save yourself through internal gnosis, the jailer loses all his power. Where do we see this external savior trapped today? It is in our entire culture of political polarization and the cult of gurus. We are trained from birth to look for the leader, the political party, the influencer, or the economic system that will fix everything. We externalize our sovereignty and our critical thinking to an outside authority, hoping it will save us. This divides us versus them. This drains our divine energy into circular, pointless arguments. It is the exact same mechanism of the Demiurge. It is the illusion of a solution outside yourself, while the true power, the internal gnosis, the personal resurrection, lies dormant, waiting to be activated. Let's do one last frequency break. Think of a very strong belief you hold. Political, social, spiritual. Something that defines you. Now, mentally, take one step back from that belief. See it as an object in your mental field of vision, not as you. It is just a thought. Feel the you that is observing that thought. That you is the divine spark. It has no political party. It has no religious dogma. It is just awareness. It is free. Breathe deeply into that freedom. This is the internal resurrection. So, the dogma is the illusion. The Nag Hammadi texts are the escape map. The illusion of death is just the final gate of the prison. How do we use this? The answer is no longer theory. The answer is practice. It is soul technology. The proof that your soul never dies is to activate it. The problem is that we are asleep. Our divine spark is encrusted with decades of programming, fear, trauma, and the static noise of the archons, the material world. We must initiate the internal resurrection. I call this sovereignty in 3 steps. The method to resurrect the spark now. The first step is the severance, or Gnostic detachment. The Gnostics practice the via negativa. You do not find your soul by adding more beliefs. You find it by removing the false ones. You have to detach from the illusion. The practice is this. Start a faulty coiti, a false inventory. Every day, sit in silence for 10 minutes. No distractions. When a thought, belief, or identity arises, I am angry. I am afraid of losing my job. I am your name. You must confront it with the Gnostic declaration. In ancient terms, it would be neat, neat. Not this, not this. In modern terms, you say internally, with authority, this is an emotion, it is not I. This is a thought, it is not I. This is a body sensation, it is not I. You are surgically separating your consciousness, the spark, from the programming, the prison. You are stopping your identification with the tomb. This is the first cut of the chain. The second step is the remembrance, or anamnesis. The prison is built on forgetting. Gnosis is anamnesis, the act of unforgetting your origin in the pleroma, the totality. The trauma and pain we carry are the sticky glue of the archons that holds the illusion together. The practice is the Gnostic Sovereignty Journal. Every night, before sleep, you don't just write what happened to you. You reframe it as a Gnostic. You write, "Today, the archons presented the illusion of financial stress, an insult, anxiety. My programmed reaction was fear, anger. I recognize this reaction as programming from the false world. The divine spark within me, the true I, observed this illusion, and it remains untouched, sovereign, and eternal. I remember that I am from the pleroma. You are consciously recoding your narrative. You are stopping the feeding of your divine energy to the parasites. You are proving to yourself over and over that your core is immortal. The third step is the ignition, or the internal resurrection. The first 2 steps clear the tomb. This step illuminates it. The practice is the spark activation. After your severance practice in the morning, with your mind clear, you focus your total will on the center of your being. Some feel it in their chest, others behind their eyes. It doesn't matter. Find your center. Visualize that dormant divine spark. See it as a tiny but unquenchable ember. Now, speak to it. Command it. Say internally, "Spark of the pleroma, awaken. You are not this body. You are not this mind. You are the light that cannot die." Remember, breathe into that ember. Imagine your breath fanning it. Feel it turn from an ember into a small sun. Feel the frequency of it. It is a frequency of pure sovereignty, of joy that depends on nothing external. It is the frequency of immortality. This feeling, this is the resurrection. This is the proof. Do this every day. This is how you resurrect before you die. This is how you break the illusion of death. We have traveled from paranoia to sovereignty. We have seen the dogma of the future resurrection for what it is. the most sophisticated control mechanism ever designed. A promise of jam tomorrow that keeps you hungry and obedient today. The illusion of death only has power over you if you identify with the body that can die. But your soul never dies. The Gnostic secret, suppressed and buried in the sands of Nag Hammadi, is not a philosophical theory. It is an operational instruction manual for the internal resurrection. The wait is over. The resurrection is not a future promise. It is an act of immediate, personal, spiritual rebellion. It is the activation of the divine spark now. You are not alone in this. Every soul that awakens, every spark that remembers, sends a shock wave through the illusion. Every time you practice the severance or the ignition, you weaken the prison for all of us. This is the true collective. The archons thrive on silent, sleeping souls. Let's break that silence. Go to the comments right now and declare your resurrection. Write, "I am awake in the tomb," or "I am the spark that remembers." Let the algorithm, the nervous system of this matrix, broadcast our Gnosis. They lied to you about death. What else did they lie to you about? You are not the body. You are not the mind. You are the eternal rebellion. And you are just beginning to remember.